Welcome back. Lots of NFL news the past couple of days. Deshaun Watson had a 6-game suspension handed out yesterday. The NFL still has a few days to respond about that and see what they want to do, so I'm not going to speak on that just yet. But today, a story about the Miami Dolphins came out, and this is something that I went over in a video in mid-April. I talked about, it was a conspiracy at the time, about Tom Brady and Sean Payton possibly going to the Dolphins, and I talked about that article. Some comments were like, that's not true, stop spreading fake news and blah, blah, blah. But no, it came out today, and yeah, the Dolphins, they did some things that were not very good. Tampering, talking to a quarterback under contract, a head coach under contract, and it did not go well. They lost a couple draft picks. Their owner, Stephen Ross, was suspended till mid-October. He also had a fine, so we're going to talk about that and what they found in this investigation, what exactly the Dolphins did while tampering, and all those type of things. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video, and let's get into it. So yeah, it was pretty crazy when this happened because I had seen notifications about the Juan Soto trade in the MLB going to the Padres, and then like literally minutes later, we get this like just bombshell of this Miami Dolphins tweet coming out. And it was breaking. The Dolphins will forfeit a first-round selection in the 2023 NFL Draft and a third-round selection in 2024. And owner Stephen Ross is suspended through October 17th, 2022 after a league investigation. And of course, more things came out afterwards. Adam Schefter later tweeted that the fine was $1.5 million for Stephen Ross, which for a guy who has that much money, it's a decent amount. But when you have that much, I guess it's not the most in the world, but still. So a fine, he's suspended, can't be at the team facility until mid-October. But the whole draft pick thing, that's a hefty fine right there. A first-round pick and a third-round pick. I mean, that's like, sometimes you'll see a team lose a 7th-round pick, a 6th-round pick. It's like, who gives a damn? But like a first-round pick, especially a third-round pick, that is pretty important. And I feel bad for Mike McDaniel, these new coaches, guys that were not involved in the previous regime, like kind of getting penalized for it because now, in this Mike McDaniel regime, it's not his fault this stuff happened in the past in 2019 through 2021, but now he's going to pay the price because he doesn't have his own first-round pick next year or a third-round pick 2 years from now. So it's not fair to him personally, but yes, something had to be done about this, obviously. There are rules in place in any sports league. The NBA comes up all the time. I know the Sixers are getting investigated for the PJ Tucker contract, but it happens all the time in sports. Sometimes they can prove it, sometimes they can't. They found enough evidence here, and ironically, all of this started from that Bill Belichick text message, how he texted the wrong Brian. He meant to text Brian Dable. He texted Brian Flores, and then it turned into this whole thing. We know Brian Flores sued the Dolphins. He sued the NFL, sued the Giants. I think he sued another team as well. So a lot of crazy stuff happened, and it all came down to this. The investigation finally came out, and these are the consequences now for the Miami Dolphins going forward. So we're going to read now what the NFL came out with about the 3 separate occasions when the Dolphins were accused, well, not accused, but really proved of tampering. So number 1 was the Dolphins had impermissible communications with quarterback Tom Brady in 2019 and 2020. Impermissible, by the way, means too bad to be allowed, because I did not know what that meant, so I had to look that one up. While he was under contract with the New England Patriots, those communications began as early as August 2019 and continue throughout the 2019 season and postseason. These numerous and detailed discussions were conducted by Mr. Beal, who in turn kept Mr. Ross and other Dolphins executives informed of his discussions with Mr. Brady. Now number 2, the Dolphins again had impermissible communications with Mr. Brady, that's Tom Brady of course, and his agent during and after the 2021 season while he was under contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those discussions began no later than early December 2021 and focused on Mr. Brady becoming a limited partner in the Dolphins and possibly serving as a football executive, although at times they also included the possibility of his playing for the Dolphins. So let's just clear that up real quick. They wanted to have Tom Brady as a partner with the Dolphins, a football executive, and a possible quarterback. All for one team. That would have been crazy. Now number 3. In January 2022, the Dolphins had impermissible communications with Don Yee, the agent for New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton, about having Mr. Payton serve as Miami's head coach. Miami did not seek consent from New Orleans to have these discussions, which occurred before Coach Payton announced his decision to retire as head coach of the Saints. Following that announcement, Miami requested permission to speak to Coach Payton for the first time, which New Orleans declined to grant. So yeah, that's pretty crazy stuff. And that really does match up with the article I read to you guys, or not read, but I summarized back to you guys in April. When I went over that article, I think it was Boston Globe who wrote it. But yeah, this stuff is pretty accurate to what that article was saying. So it's pretty crazy how that stuff was true. It wasn't just a rumor. So if this Brian Flores thing never happened where he was suing the NFL and the NFL had extra eyes on the Dolphins organization, imagine what could have happened. We could have been living in a world this upcoming season, which starts in like a little over a month here, where Tom Brady was the quarterback of the Dolphins and part owner and part whatever executive, and we could have been in a world where Sean Payton was still coaching in the NFL as a head coach of the Dolphins. That would have been crazy. Of course, it did not happen because of the Brian Flores situation, and the article back in April did say the same thing. Now, there was also a rumor going around that Brian Flores admitted that Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, wanted the Dolphins to lose games on purpose during that 2019 season. That was a year where the Dolphins started out very bad. They started getting better in the second half of the year, but Brian Flores did say he was offered $100,000 for every game they lost in that 2019 season. Now, Adam Schefter went on to say, NFL also determined the Dolphins did not intentionally lose games during the 2019 season, nor did anyone at the club, including Mr. Ross, instruct Coach Flores to do so. No witness contended otherwise. So yeah, maybe it happened. It's Brian Flores' word versus Stephen Ross. There's no proof about that. But look, it would not shock me based on what was going on in this organization in the first place. I could definitely see that happening. Today's penalties are all about the tampering with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. So can you imagine if they found out they were trying to throw games back in 2019 too? This would have been maybe twice as worse, possibly even worse than twice as worse. Like, this would have been multiple first round picks and a more of a fine than $1.5 million. So luckily for the Dolphins and their fans, they only got caught for this. But yeah, that could have been a lot worse if they were caught just intentionally trying to lose games for a draft pick back in 2019. But I guess in the end, it all worked out. It was all tanked for Tua during that 2019 season. They ended up with Tua 6th overall just, a few months later. So it did work out. So now, it kind of sucks for Dolphins fans. You have this highly anticipated football team, a lot of, off-season moves, Tyreek Hill included, and now, you just have this hit you a month before the season starts. I don't know if this will distract the players and whatnot, but it's not what you want to see. But overall, it was just crazy news. I wasn't sure if that article back in April was telling the truth, but my goodness, it was pretty spot on. So these are now the punishments the Dolphins will face. Stephen Ross cannot show his face in that facility until October 17th. So that's about it. So anyway, yeah, we'll talk about the Deshaun Watson situation when it's made official. There's a lot to say about that, obviously, but hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave in the comments your reaction to this news about the Dolphins, and I'll talk to you guys next time.